hold on one second. I need to. Oh.
We are live. Let's give everyone a couple of minutes to get in. And Sydney, I'm going to make you co-host so you can share your screen.
Great. Thank you so much.
They did it out here.
Carrie, you're the jam.
Thanks. All right, but you want to come on while she does, while Katie introduces you?
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Katie, your hair looks good.
Oh, thanks, girl. So thank you everybody for joining us today. My name is Katie Smar. This is Katie Williams. We are co-founders of YTP. If you're not familiar, YTP is a young professionals group for the textile industry. Our mission is to bring together industry leaders to support textile evolution and sustainability while making an impact on our local communities. We strive to bridge young talent and tradition to develop the next generation of successful professionals through networking, hosting social and educational events, and coordinating community outreach opportunities. Also on today, we have Carrie Dillon. Carrie is the Managing Director of ITA. ITA is the International Textile Alliance, and it's the go-to resource for textile professionals all around the world. They offer leadership, networking, and educational opportunities that are designed to support individual businesses and to advance our industry. So before we get to Sydney, I'm going to do just a couple housekeeping things. We are doing Lunch and Learns quarterly this year. Of course, today we are presenting public speaking with Sydney Bigatov. We've done other Lunch and Learns on topics such as mental health and wellness, financial planning, career development. We're always open for suggestions and input, so we'd love to hear some feedback on what you guys may be interested in hearing and learning about. The other thing that we're very excited about this year is a new series called Texpert Connections. We launched this series in March, and it's our goal is to facilitate connections between young professionals and mentors from all areas of the industry. So this month's featured Texpert is Brian Rosenstein, who is the CEO of TSG Finishing. Sydney is also one of our Texperts that will be featured later this year. She is available for mentorship. All of the mentor profiles are on the ITA's website, so we do encourage you to just jump on there, take a look around, read the profiles, and of course, if you have any questions, Katie and I are always available. So we hope to see everybody in person this fall, fingers crossed. Now we'll get into today's speaker, Sydney Bigatov. She is a public speaker, trainer, CEU presenter, and motivator who is passionate about igniting a sense of wonder and curiosity in others about the home furnishings and fabric industries. In 2020, she was the youngest ever recipient of the With It Wow Education Award. And if you've ever met Sydney in person, you know why. So let's join her today to improve speaking skills, activate our executive presence, and to project confidence during important in-person and web-based presentations. We will take questions. There is a Q&A at the bottom of your screen. Feel free to drop them in there throughout the presentation, and then we'll go over those at the end. And everybody, here she is, Sydney Bigatov.
All right, guys. First of all, I'm proud of all of you for coming, because I have a feeling that if you're joining this webinar, you might have a little bit of speaking anxiety or presenting anxiety. So in the first place, I'm very proud of you for being here and joining me, because it means that you are interested in bettering yourself and interested in making yourself the kick-ass speaker that you are. So I do want to start off, because we might be a little anxious about public speaking. I want to start off by teaching you something called calm breathing or diaphragmatic breathing. So calm and diaphragmatic breathing, I encourage you to look this up. It is proven to lower your heart rate and lower your anxiety. If you feel, even if it's not public speaking, if you feel anxious about a situation, say that you're at a family event and you're anxious about being around family, or you're at a social event you're anxious about, these are breathing exercises that have been scientifically proven to lower your heart rate and genuinely calm your fight or flight, your body response down. So let's do a couple of those together. So we are going to breathe in for 8 counts slowly, then we're going to hold as long as we can, maybe 8 counts, we'll see how long, and then we'll very, very slowly release our air, and we're going to purse our lips and release it through our mouths. So we're going to, again, breathe in very slowly, and then we're going to hold, and then we're going to release and purse your lips when you're releasing and breathing. And this is also best done when, in my experience, this is best done when you're sitting in a relaxed position. You don't need to be kind of, upward posture. You need to be in a relaxed position, and if possible, with nothing kind of restricting your midriff. If you're wearing a tight belt, kind of release the tight belt just for this breathing exercise so that you can get ready to really do a great job at your presentation. So first, let's start with the diaphragmatic breathing or calm breathing exercise. So we're going to go in for 8, very slowly. And hold. And then we're going to go out for 8. And in for another 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold. And out for another 8. And I can genuinely tell you that this exercise is also proven to lower your heart rate. If you are going to a doctor's office, if you're going to go get your physical, you're having kind of a quick heartbeat, this is an easy way to get a better read and a more accurate read at a physician's office. So that is a good tool to have in your back pocket, no matter whether you're speaking or not. But if you're anxious about speaking, that's a great place to start. So again, that's called diaphragmatic or calm breathing. So now that we've taken some calm breaths and we've relaxed a little bit, I am going to turn my video off and go ahead and get started with the presentation. Okay, so a little bit about who I am. My name is Sydney Vigatov, as Katie said. Just a little bit about my background. I have no textile or furniture training. I don't come from a degree in furniture or textiles, but I love the industry. I'm incredibly passionate about our industry and about furthering my colleagues and furthering students and furthering others in this industry. To me, it is really, it's my passion, and I love being around people like you, and I love my role and my job. So when I'm not doing my role at either Krypton or Eckerness, I also really enjoy fire performing, and I do body painting, and I also do some stilt walking. I'll be actually stilt walking for the Atlanta Braves this weekend, so that'll be a fun experience. And thankfully, no public speaking there, but I'll definitely be taking some heights under my wing. So let's get started into what we'll go over today. Because we only have about an hour, I can't cover everything, but I do encourage you to reach out to me, and I've included my personal contact information at the end of this. And I've also included some information to kind of reiterate, and Katie can jump in as well about the Texpert connections. And I am happy to go further in depth on any of this information with you one-on-one. So let's talk a little bit about body language and anxiety. So calm breathing and diaphragmatic breathing, to me, really is the #1 thing you can do to really calm yourself down, is to remove yourself from a situation. If you are, for example, at Showtime or Market, and you are in a group setting, and you know that you have a really, really important or anxiety-inducing presentation in front of you, one of the best things you can do for yourself is remove yourself from the environment and do some calm breathing or some diaphragmatic breathing and really get into your own space and into your own head and take a moment for yourself. And that is really one of the number one things you can do. But let's talk about some other public speaking and anxiety facts. So over 90% of speakers, whether they're college age or above, express anxiety about public speaking. According to most studies, people's number one fear is public speaking, and people's number two fear is death. So that means that actually, if you have to go to a funeral, people think that it's better to be in the casket than actually giving the eulogy. It is that anxiety inducing for most individuals. So hopefully at the end of this presentation, we'll give you some tools so that you won't have to feel that way every single time that you're public speaking. One of the things to ask yourself is, what are your fears about public speaking? What does your anxiety monster look like? This is what my anxiety monster looks like, by the way, guys. So what are your public speaking fears? What specifically actually internalize and ask yourself, what are the things that are actually anxiety inducing? Are they at factors like preparedness? Do you feel that you don't truly know the content? Do you feel like you haven't had enough time to sit with and internalize the content that you're presenting? Is it a factor of the number of people? Is it your perception of the number of people? So actually sit and ask yourself, what is triggering those fight or flight responses? To give you an idea, a normal heart rate is 60 to 80 beats per minute. And typically a human being that has anxiety about speaking before a speech is displaying 90 to 140 beats per minute of a heart rate. At the start of their speech, 110 to 190 beats per minute. And after their speech starts, 90 to 140 beats per minute. So it typically stays very high if we don't use those exercises and use techniques to try to slow ourselves down and give ourselves some anxiety help. One of the things that can help you, of course, is the diaphragmatic breathing or calm breathing. Today, I'm also giving you permission to be a good public speaker. One of the worst things we can do for ourselves is create and proliferate the idea that we are bad at public speaking, in the same way that if we give ourselves the negative self-talk that we are not good at math, or we're not good at art, or we're not good at this or that, this is a self-fulfilling prophecy. If we don't tell ourselves that we are a good public speaker and we have this power inside of us, we are never going to be good at this. So I'm giving you permission today, and you should give yourself permission as well to be a fabulous public speaker, because you are, and you do have those talents inside of you. Every single person, I looked at the participant list very quickly before we started, and every single person on this list has something fabulous to offer the industry. And you really have to believe that, and you have to be confident in that, and in yourself. Another thing that you can do, a couple of other kind of tips and tricks in terms of helping yourself mitigate anxiety, are to truly open your chest and back. Really, really, when you are actually presenting, open your chest and back straight. I know it seems silly, but almost pretend that you are a soldier. Kind of, roll your shoulders back and pretend that maybe there's a corset in the back of in the back between your shoulder blades, and truly roll back and open your chest, because it really, really does open up your lungs, and it's really, really helpful for breathing. On top of that, smile. Smiling is one of the most powerful and disarming weapons that we have for audiences. Smiling really warms us up. It's engaging, and it also really does create a sense of empathy with our audience. When in doubt, I can promise you smiling will help. Open posture, as I mentioned, being mindful of tics or of sort of personal habits, like like standing with hands on hips constantly, or standing with arms crossed. These are more what I would call closed postures. What I find personally to be the most helpful is to just roll shoulders back and either clasp your hands, or if you're on a podium, podiums are very helpful, especially if you feel anxiety, because they give you something to hold on to. Gesturing naturally also with the hands is very helpful, as long as it doesn't get to be sort of chicken wing like, and you're sort of waving around wildly. You want to make sure that you're gesturing naturally, and you're gesturing in sort of a rhythm with the content that you're delivering. And again, making eye contact with your audience is really important because we identify with those that make eye contact. So don't be afraid to look out at your audience, and don't be afraid to humanize yourself and make eye contact and really connect with your audience that way. In the same vein as hand gestures, also pointing to the screen or pointing to, if you're specifically presenting at Showtime or presenting something at market, pointing to the product that you're discussing, picking things up and passing them around the room. These are also things that can help with relieving anxiety, because having a quote unquote prop, in the same way that an actor might, really does a nice job of kind of relaxing us and giving us a task. So even if that's handing out worksheets, handing out notes, handing out physical memos of fabric or anything in that vein, it really can help and relax you while you're presenting. Like walking also closer to your audience while maintaining social distancing guidelines, masked, when you are dealing with your audience does help, because when you are in close proximity to speakers, they are automatically going to engage with you more. And especially if you're dealing with a question and answer presentation, this is a great way to force your audience. Naturally, it psychologically creates the need for the audience to engage with you because of your physical proximity to them. Nodding your head is another great way to create engagement and to relax the audience, and also making sure that you are leaning forward or leaning at least your torso forward. This is an engaging posture and an energetic posture. So when we are asked really tough or critical questions, sometimes that can be anxiety inducing as well, right? When we're asked a tough question, one of the things that's important to do, and that's okay to do, and that I give you permission to do, is to answer, to pause and breathe and take a moment to actually process the question and create your answer before responding. When you are answering, also make direct eye contact with the individual that's answering, that you're answering the question for, and continue the nodding and smiling and any mirroring of body language as well, because it really does create comfort. Those negative questions or tough questions can kind of throw us off. And the best thing to do in preparation for those is go through your presentation and sort of play devil's advocate. And either you can do this for yourself, or you can do this with a trusted colleague or a supervisor that you also trust, or a mentor as well, and say, what are some really negative or critical questions that I could get against this presentation, or when I'm giving this presentation, what are some things that could be a tough thing for me to answer? And that way you feel prepared to answer those questions. And that way, even if it's a variant of one of the questions that you've prepared for, you feel ready and you feel confident to answer them. I do want to also mention a couple of more particular tactics to manage situational anxiety. And situational anxiety is anxiety that's triggered by obviously a particular situation that you're in. And the one that we're putting ourselves in is a group, even whether it's a small group that you're presenting to at Showtime, or it could be a group of 100 or 200 or more. When you're dealing with situational anxiety, we want to warm up our voices. I know that a lot of us might not have experience with that, or maybe if you've done some acting in high school, you may or may not have done that, but it really is a good idea to go in a corner and be silly and make some noises and, say, do your ABCs, kind of warm up your voice and make sure that you're drinking plenty of water, because if you're going to be speaking for a long period of time, you don't want to become hoarse. You don't want to, to lose the ability in your vocal muscles to be able to project properly to the audience. So definitely think about actual internal health and throat health and caring for the mechanics of your voice as well. Also use those deep breathing techniques and use visual aids. One of the things that I also try to coach mentees on is actually visualizing yourself at the end of the presentation with a completely successful, over the moon, over the top fabulous presentation completed, and also be your own devil's advocate. You know, if your brain, if your anxiety monster is telling you, you know, this could be possibly the worst presentation I've ever done, I could completely bomb, that if that's the narrative that your brain is running, then you need, on your logical side, to come and combat that narrative and say, well, what if it's the best presentation I've ever done? Well, what if I completely knock it out of the park? What if it's so good that I get offered a different aspect of my role, or I get offered a different set of projects? Or what if I realize that this is something I'm actually good at? So I need you to, moving forward, combat those thoughts, combat those negative narratives with your own positive narrative. Completely replace the negative narrative about public speaking with only positive and only, you know, aspirational and excited thoughts about what you are about to do. Let's talk a little bit about content, because once we have sort of leapt over our anxiety and we're excited to do some public speaking, it's important that our content achieves what we are aiming for. And there are some really great, really minor mistakes that I see on a regular basis that I do want to go through with you guys. In terms of PowerPoint mistakes, I do often see that there is a lot of text per slide. There could be, say on a slide this size, we could have really to the bottom of the slide full of text. The human mind really does not want to read more than about 2 to 3 bullets tops at a time. So if you feel that your information needs to be sort of spread out among 2 or 3 slides, I recommend doing that over doing something like cramming all of your information onto one slide, because I can promise you that your audience will not want to read it. And also it completely robs you of your value add as a speaker. You want to make sure that you are reading as little as possible off of your slide, because if you are reading all of your content off of your slide, you're not adding any value to your audience. You're not creating any input, or you're not adding any additional information that your slide didn't in the first place. Let's talk a little bit about creating and determining some main points for speaking, and some effective business presentation points as well. So a couple of main points that we should cover in terms of content for presentations are that we shouldn't introduce more than one idea at a time. We want to make sure that we understand the expectations of the presentation, the purpose, the time limits. We want to express our key ideas and the main and major themes of our piece or our speech. And we also want to make our statements all relate back to really the main goal. So if we are doing a presentation for Showtime, we want to make sure that they all sort of relate back to the theme of our collection, or the theme of our sales presentation, or the theme of the business presentation that we're making. We're making sure that they relate back to the business that we're pitching, or back to really the end goal, that we're not getting off track, and we're not being distracted by other flashy elements. So simplicity is always key here. We should also be using as many declarative statements to emphasize those points and make them stand out from each other. We want to spend equal attention and equal time on oral and written components. So I also highly recommend using a PowerPoint and actual handouts as well. This can be really effective because also, particularly in our industry, I find that a lot of people enjoy writing notes. So this gives them something to write notes on, and that really helps with engaging them in your presentation, is providing them with a visual aid and also making it so that they have written components that then they also can add their own comments on, and questions then for you at the end as well. We should also make sure to help keep the audience on track. We don't want to get sidelined with questions. We want to be able to control the room and control the environment. If we feel that the audience is getting on track, we want to politely but effectively bring our goals back on track and make sure that we are listening, but also making sure that we're sort of putting the content and the subject back on the rails, as I say. If you are practicing, or if you're presenting in a larger group, it's very, very also important. And I know it's more difficult in the COVID environment that we're in now, but I really want you guys to think about having a group practice, whether it's a group Zoom or any variety of distanced group practice. One of the things that throughout my career, I think has been a difficult thing to sort of wrangle colleagues on, is to have a group practice. And this is sort of across the board. And I've heard colleagues also say that that's a difficult thing to rehearse, but a well-rehearsed presentation in a group really has you walking into to give this presentation in a very different way than an unrehearsed presentation. And one rehearsal is never enough. So having yourselves together in a group and in rehearsing at least once, maybe twice, 3 times, once being the bare minimum, really, really, truly makes you cohesive. It helps you each understand what your role in the group is and what your message in each of your message in the group is. And so avoiding that practice really makes it so that it feels a little disjointed, and you can really mitigate that by having pre-practice times beforehand. So let's talk a little bit about Monroe's motivated sequence. So some of you may know what this is and some of you may not, but Alan H. Monroe, who is a Purdue University professor, used psychology of persuasion to develop this outline for making speeches that will deliver and does deliver results. So, and he wrote about it in his book, Monroe's Principles of Speech. So it's now known as Monroe's motivated sequence, and this is a communication set of ideals, and I really highly recommend looking into Monroe's motivated sequence, and it really is pretty fail-proof, guys. So step 1, of course, would be to get attention. You need to get the attention of your audience. You need to use storytelling or humor, or in my case, personal information about what you like to do and who you are outside of just, this is my job and this is my name. We want to tell something personal. We want to relax our audiences. Or if you're funny, you can tell a joke, or you can, tell a funny story about something that happened to you recently, or maybe something that you're working on that you're excited about. Just really something personal, because when we share something personal about ourselves, it warms our audience, it relaxes our audience, and it also then warms and relaxes us as well. A rhetorical question is also okay, and if you are giving the kind of presentation that merits this, we can use statistics or facts that we are trying to speak to as well. So step 2 would be the need step, or establishing the need. We want to convince our audience that there is a problem. There's no point in presenting, and to create the need to present, we want to make sure that the audience understands why we're presenting. What is the need for presenting? And we're presenting the problem here. This set of statements must help our audiences realize that what's happening right now isn't good enough, and we need it to change. So we need to relate the product to our customers' interests and needs, and hence make a change. And that's where we're going to drive our need-based and our question and answer-based pitch or content from here on out. This is not the I have a solution stage, just to mention. This is the I know what your problem is, and I've identified your problem, and I am now going to sympathize with your problem and also address what I feel I can do to solve it stage. So let's talk about the satisfaction step. We want to introduce the solution here. We want to make sure that the audience understands how we can solve the problem. And we also want to paint the picture of what the future will look like once we have solved the problem, and once they make the purchase, or once they introduce the product that we are hoping them to introduce into their world. So this is where we are actually pitching and closing and satisfying the customer's need. It varies significantly depending on the purpose of your presentation. So I know this is a little generic, but in the case of the furniture and fabric world, this would be where we are using those questions and using our information from our establishment phase to satisfy the need phase and the satisfaction phase. So let's talk about also the action step and closing the sale. That again comes after satisfying the customer's need. We want to make sure that we arouse our customer's determination. We want to also answer tough questions in this phase. We want to do a lot of stopping, talking, and listening. This is also something I think not many people know when we're presenting. It's okay to stop and listen. It's okay to stop and listen to feedback. It's okay to stop and listen and pause. This is where you can get some of the best information about your customers and the best feedback as well. So let's talk a little bit about some transitional words that can help us, and also some bad transitional words, some overused words, and how to sort of mitigate that. Here are some easy transitional words and phrases that we can use. I know that some of you may have heard some of these, but it's good to go through and sort of review, because to me, we all have overused words and phrases. Some of us use like, some of us use some of us, everyone has sort of their trigger words. And one of the best ways to find and target these, and we'll go through in just a moment, some of the strategies you can use to combat these, is to record yourself and count. And I'll sort of go through, you know, how to do that in just a moment. But let's go through some easy transitional words and phrases that we can try to insert in our speech to avoid overusing those likes, and uhs. Similarly, in the same way, likewise, or first, second, additionally, at present, because. On the other hand, these are all things that we can insert as opposed to like, or. So another thing to add is that it's okay to pause. If we feel nervous, one of our first inclinations is to start speaking and fill the space. And it's really important to know that pausing is an important part of speech, and it also gives us time to eliminate those nervous filler words. So let's talk about how to eliminate those verbal fillers. Record yourself. That is me clapping. Record yourself. Selfie stands are incredibly inexpensive, and I cannot stress enough the value of recording yourself at your next Showtime or market presentation. I know that this is not a fun exercise, but I can promise you that this is the most valuable thing you can do for yourself as a speaker. It will show you verbal tics, it will show you physical tics, it will show you how many filler words that you are using, it will show you how many times you are using the filler words that you are using. And sometimes it is pretty shocking. I can tell you that I have absolutely recorded myself plenty of times, and every single time I have ads and I have criticisms. No speaker is perfect, and this is only an opportunity to grow and to better yourself as a professional. The more that you'd like to be a leader, and the more that you'd like to be seen as a leader in the industry, the more frequently you should be practicing recording yourself and improving your public speaking abilities. This is such a boost to an executive presence and a boost to your ability to present yourself to your brand, to your company, and to the industry. Also, set targets for yourself. If you find that is your filler word, if you find that like is your filler word, when you are recording yourself, I kid you not, go on a piece of paper when you are reviewing your recording and tally the number of times that you've used this word. And when you are reviewing it the next time and you've recorded yourself again, go back and review and see if you've gotten that number down. And slowly over time, I can promise you that you will reduce the number as you get closer to your goal of reducing or eliminating that word in your speech. Practice, practice, practice. I know that that is not the fun thing to do. And I know that when we're stressed out about upcoming market showtime or a stressful business meeting, that might not be the first thing on our minds, but take the actual time to practice. It really, truly allows you to feel more confident, in the content, to refine the content, to make it so that you are adding the most value to your audience and you feel ready to walk in the room, ready to conquer the world. I also personally recommend never wearing any clothing that doesn't feel comfortable, any new clothing or uncomfortable clothing. And this would mean uncomfortable shoes or an uncomfortable set of clothing. If something is too tight or something is rubbing in an odd way, you know, a strap or some shoes or anything that you're wearing is making you uncomfortable, this is going to contribute to your speech and to your speaking. I really encourage you never to use a new clothing or clothing that doesn't really make you feel like you could conquer the world. This is the time when you should be using standbys that make you feel truly like they fit. Never, you know, if you've put on the quarantine 15, never try to fit into things that aren't going to make you feel your best. This is the time to use the things that are reliable to you and that you know will make you feel great about yourself. So never try out new fashion, never try out new clothing during a really important presentation. That's another really, really important thing to remember. So here are some amazing resources. I personally am a grad from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, and I want to make sure that you guys know that they offer free speaking resources and also coaching for individuals. I know that some folks like Toastmasters as well, but this is a local resource. There is a physical campus and a physical speaking center available. And most, if not all, of the resources that I used to collect this, to create this presentation, and that I personally use on a regular basis to improve my own speaking skills, these are all available at these links, and I can make sure to give Katie a copy, as well as Carrie, so that these can be sent out as well. But this is a fabulous resource, and I'm a very, very rabid alum. I really love UNCG, and they do a fabulous job of preparing people that come to them for speaking. On top of that, they have a entire host of free worksheets that you can use to improve your public speaking. So say that you wanted to focus on transitional words, they have tips and tricks and worksheets for that. They also have an introduction and conclusion checklist worksheet that you can use. So these are all tools that are free to download that you can easily get one by one at UNCG's Speaking Center. Again, no one is going to give you permission to be a good public speaker until you do. So I'm asking you today to give yourself permission to be a great public speaker and to stop the negative self-talk and stop the negative narrative that you have any reason to not believe that you are the fabulous public speaker that you are. So I have created 2 gifts for you, and I encourage you to take a screen cap and share if you're feeling bold. So I also, on top of giving yourself your own permission to become a good public speaker, I'm also giving you permission to be a good public speaker. And here you have your new license to sparkle. And you can share this on social media as well as LinkedIn. And therefore, we're giving ourselves permission to create the new life for ourselves where we can project the confidence and project the ability to public speak and not be worried and have anxiety, because we have tools and we have tricks and we have tips to lower our blood pressure, lower our heart rate, and make it so that we are ready to rock. And if you don't like sparkling, we have an alternative for licensing you to shine as well. So I do also want to open up the floor again for Katie and Kelly. We do have these Techspert connections that are available to you. And I wanted to also thank YTP and ITA so much for sponsoring this Lunch and Learn event. I wanted to make sure to ask you to follow them on Instagram. They are at Young Textile Professionals and at International Textile Alliance as well. So, and I believe that I got the URLs right. Carrie, let me know if I messed up any of those URLs. I wanted to make sure that I got those correct.
It looks correct.
Okay.
If anybody has any questions, there is room in the chat and in the Q&A section at the bottom. And also, if you'd like to ask your question in person, you can raise your hand, and there is a little button you can select to raise your hand, and I can turn on your microphone so you can speak directly to Sydney. That was really great, though, Sydney. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
And I appreciate the permission. I feel better already.
I think we're all ready to like go out there and tackle the world.
Now, you know, honestly, I think one of the best things is the breathing exercise. Out of everything, if everyone takes one thing away, the breathing exercise will change your world. Yeah. Actually, one of our colleagues, Kevin, does the breathing exercise. He does his own breathing exercises.
Yeah. Let's see here. I think we've got.
Thank you so much, guys. I'm looking at the chat.
Okay.
Box breathing. I love it. I love it.
I have a question.
So yeah, to answer, we had one question. I will be sharing the recording via email, and it will also be on the news section of our website. You can actually, we list our upcoming webinars as well as all of our previous webinars that were recorded, and you can access those there. So if you go to our website and look for the news section, you can find them there as well. So I'll upload this in just a bit, and we'll get an email out, maybe not today, but next week, sharing the recording.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. And please, I was going to say, Katie, do you want to mention the events coming up once more?
Yeah, we actually do have a question.
Okay.
What was one of your worst presentations? And
what was one of my worst presentations?
Yeah.
Okay, so one of my worst presentations. Okay, I know exactly what my worst presentation was. I had a presentation for Ethan Allen, and I had just started with Krypton, and I was maybe 90 days in, like maybe, and I think it was less than 90 days in, and I was asked to present at corporate Ethan Allen for everyone, like for everyone in their corporate team, and was relatively alone. And so I was just a wreck. And when I was doing my demonstration, I had multiple packets of soy sauce, and my packet of soy sauce exploded everywhere, just straight up volcano. Actually, I think if you ask Patrick Shelton, you could, and you just say Sydney and soy sauce volcano, he'll know what I'm talking about. But I just, I was just like, oops, well, it's performance fabric, we can clean it up. And you just have to kind of humanize yourself. And I was absolutely nervous. I still get nervous. And I think that one of the things that's important to remember is that getting nervous means you care. It means that you care about what you're doing. It means you're passionate about what you're doing. It means you care about your job. And you want to be a great presenter, and you want to do a great job, and you want to deliver the content effectively. But there are going to be uh-ohs if a fabric has a mar in it, or if something doesn't look right, or something was misspelled on a worksheet. Those things are going to happen, and we just have to humanize ourselves a little bit and say, oops. And the audience, I can promise you, is not your enemy. They are most of the time rooting for you, if not all of the time. We have to remember that our audiences are rooting for us. And if anything, the thing that you can do the most to make an audience uncomfortable is to make them nervous for you. So no one wants to be nervous for you. They want to be rooting for you, and they want you to win. Everybody wants you to win, because that's why they're there to listen to you.
Very good. Yes, situation with the
so now you know the story of the soy sauce volcano.
Yeah. It is. If you're in performance and speaking, I feel like you do have at least one of those explosive moments.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, Sydney, thank you so much for being here. I think everyone can walk away with some really good information and our new licenses.
YTP, and thank you, ITA. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Real quick, let me just mention too, our ITA has an upcoming webinar on April 20th about leveraging LinkedIn. And so I encourage you, there was an email that went out today. You can also find that on the news section of our website in the upcoming webinars. So we will see everyone at that next webinar on April 20th.
All right.
All right. Thank you,
guys.
Sydney. And thank you,
Have
Katie.
a
and
great
Katie.
weekend. Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.